Off and running. Hello, everybody. We got a three-headed monster, three wide, as they say in NASCAR. This is a combination. Daily ticket, the line change, and picks and roll. You got Sean Bray, Sean Barnard, and John Jansen. Fellas, good afternoon. Don't know if you guys know this, but Jalen Brunson, the greatest player to ever play the game of basketball. Did you know this?
It's word on the street, apparently. Greatest foul grifter I've ever seen. I'll give him
Go
that.
ahead. You guys can make your jokes, and I'm going to be the Jalen Brunson apologist, I guess, on this program. I feel like
you don't need to be an apologist.
4 straight games. This is wild. Okay.
You don't need to be an apologist. What you need to be is level-headed. This is game 1 in round 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
And that's
being crowned.
Yeah, he's being crowned. I got people saying this is the greatest playoff run ever. Guys, it hasn't resulted in squat. You beat the Sixers. You want to hang a banner? My buddy texted me. He said, yeah, you know what banner we're hanging? F Joel Embiid. I said, knock yourself out. Great. Put it right in the middle of the garden. You know what? You guys haven't hung anything in a long damn time. And I think, and Sean, I don't know if you picked the Pacers. I know I didn't pick the Pacers. I said the Knicks are going to win this series. You know what? The Sixer fan in me, of course, was believing, but at the end of the day, I thought the Knicks were the better team heading into that series. Whatever. I picked the Sixers there. Whatever. I don't think they're going to beat Boston. And it sure as hell, maybe we're looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves as a defensive juggernaut, which they did without Rudy Gobert last night. Yo, you got a long way to go until you impress me. Is it fun? Is he awesome? Absolutely. Josh Hart, John Jansen, you want to stick up for somebody. You've been bloviating about that guy for a long time, and he looks amazing. But, we just got to put things into perspective here. It is game 1, round 2.
I get that. And so when somebody goes on air and on a television program and goes that he's better than Allen Iverson right now, okay, we can pump the brakes with all that. I understand that. But this guy also has had 4 straight 40-point games, and he could have had 5 straight, but he had 39 points instead of 40. This is an absurd run. This is a wild basketball run that he's on. And he's had not only those 40-point games, but he's also, I think, had 3 of them with 10 assists or more. That is absurd. He is the entire Knicks team. We talk about players taking a team on their back, getting them to win games, getting them to win series in the postseason. Jalen Brunson is doing that more than anyone right now. He is the entire offense. There is no offense with the Knicks outside of Jalen Brunson. It is give him the ball, let him work, let him pass the ball, let him get guys moving. Also can score at a great pace. But I understand maybe things are going too far, but also, damn, this guy is amazing. This guy's a really damn good basketball player.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to have to be this guy here, but he's also playing by different rules in the game of basketball than everyone else on the floor. Jansen, he shot 77 free throws. And for all the Joel Embiid, from a guy that watches every single game of Joel Embiid, really career, Jalen Brunson's the most egregious foul baiter I've ever seen.
Man.
It's absurd. And the difference being with Joel Embiid and Jalen Brunson is Joel Embiid punishes you when you were in the wrong spot as a defender. Jalen Brunson directly creates the contact, which in my mind is worse for the sport of basketball. And as far as the refereeing conversation as a whole, it's just been bad this playoffs, like start to finish. I hate how much it's distracting. The inconsistency on a game-by-game basis is absolutely ruining the viewership of the sport. But a lot of it is happening in Knicks games, and I don't think that's fully coincidental here in the Jalen Brunson conversation. 77 free throws over the span of 7 games. That's more per game than Joel Embiid averaged, that led the league, that everybody complained about. So I get it, but I also want to put the little bit of a tinted lens on this.
Yeah, but he also has the ball more than anybody else. And I've said this with Joel Embiid, and I'll say this about Brunson and any other player, James Harden too. Foul baiting, I hate to say it's foul baiting. It's these guys know positioning very well, and they know when somebody is out of position, and they use that to get to the line. Joel Embiid does that just about as well as anyone. Like Isaiah Hartenstein, I remember the last series, got too far up on him, and so Embiid put up a shot right away. Obviously, it's going to affect his elbow because Hartenstein's right up in his grill. So yeah, it's going to affect his shot. I think that is a skill. I think it's somebody being aware. And that's the thing about Brunson is he's not the greatest athlete. He's not the most incredible ball handler, but he's very smart about his positioning on the floor and knowing when people are out of position and using that to his advantage. I love that kind of stuff. So I get it that he's look, some of these things, the Knicks, I agree with you on the other stuff, not really the Jalen Brunson, but I agree with you on the Knicks are getting some like really favorable calls here, especially some of like the judgment stuff and things like kicked balls and stuff like that. Completely get it. Completely get that that's been really odd, especially late moments and late in games, especially in the fourth quarter. I just think that Brunson, though, should be getting credit for getting to the foul line the same way Embiid does. And I don't think it's just the refs are getting it wrong. I just think he's really good at it.
I think, Sean, I'll get it over to you, but I think that from a whole, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, and Jalen Brunson, I maybe I can include somebody else, but man, those guys, they are very crafty when it comes to getting the whistle. And I know you could use other words. And point blank, with 12 seconds to go, Dante DiVincenzo gets that call because of the theater performance that he put on. Right? Like you're not blowing that whistle.
You can't make that call. You can't.
Yeah.
The only reason why they did is because DiVincenzo took a bullet and he's and jumps and flails, and the refs get caught up in the MSG emotion and they call that. And I don't know if the Pacers score there. I have no idea what happens, but as a basketball fan, I want to just see that play out. As Correct. A guy that was was being blown away all throughout the course of that game, just like, wow, this is incredible. And then it ends like that. It's like, dude, get out of the way. These refs have such big egos to think that, like, I'm going to make that call with 12 seconds to go. Get out of here. But it's a credit to those three specifically. But I think from the fact that I think you're seeing it from other Knicks players as well, they know how to get the whistles. And whether it's a combination of being in the right spot, of course, getting the push up, the acting, all of the above rolled up in one, man. That's what they do really well. They're winning. Brunson deserves all the credit, John. No one's going to sit here and tell you that he doesn't. The only thing I'm saying is we need to pump the brakes a little bit because we got a long way to go. And if you want to talk about playoff performances, it has to result in something. Eastern Conference Finals, that's great. You can rub it in the Sixers' face, but that's not an all-time run. That's not an all-time run to the Eastern Conference Finals. You got to get to the NBA Finals. You got to win the whole damn thing if you want to go down as one of the greats. Giannis, MJ, LeBron, MJ times 6, LeBron times, how many rings does LeBron have? 5, 4?
I think four. Yeah.
4. Yeah. Yeah. Bad job by us. Go down the list. Steph Curry. You mean to tell me Steph Curry didn't have a hell of a run with one of his many championships shooting the ball? Like, hold up. Game 1, round 2.
And not to go completely on a different player, but I think we need to be having this conversation more about Jokic if Denver gets bounced. I know he won a title, so like the title is always going to be like, see, he won the title, he's great. But dude, come on, man, come on, man. This is bad. This is bad. He's getting outplayed, but we've seen before in past playoff series that the Denver Nuggets have come up short. They're coming up incredibly short right now, incredibly short.
And
that was really bad.
A statistic I was not familiar with until it came across the timeline last night, but Jokic has never beaten a 50-plus win team in the playoffs. That every single team, and we're talking about multiple years throughout the entirety of his career, basically when you run into the very good teams, that he has not come up on top here. Now, granted, I think a lot of us undersold the Timberwolves here. Like, purely if you want to teach team defense, watch last night's game from the Minnesota Timberwolves. That is about as good of a example I've ever seen of that. Probably the most dominant defensive game of basketball I've ever seen play. And by the way, that happened with the guy who's about to be crowned Defensive Player of the Year, not even being there for that matchup. So I know Brace doesn't like to hear that with the Rudy Gobert love, but I've been an anti-Rudy Gobert guy. And to be honest, I've been very impressed with him this year, that he's not just playing drop coverage, being a rim protector. He's doing other things, which is a reason why it's more sustainable in a playoff setting this year. And I do think that I'm in on this Timberwolves team. I think everyone's bought in. They have a vision. They have an identity. Everyone's committing to it. And Anthony Edwards has straight up been the best player on the floor in this series.
Yeah, Ant's been the best player in the playoffs, bar none for me. And I know that it's him and Brunson that are going neck and neck. And I won't argue with you if you want to give it to Brunson. But I'm sorry, what Ant is doing against Denver, on the road. The odds, we also have to roll into the odds conversation. The Knicks were favored in that Sixers series. They're favored in this series against the Pacers. T-Wolves were not favored in that Nuggets series. They deserve a lot of credit. Everybody expected the Phoenix Suns to have a better showing than they did. They did not. Minnesota is on a tear right now, and I don't know where it ends. I really don't. It might end in the damn NBA championship. Long way to go for them as well. But wow, they're playing as good as you can right now. And defensively, as you pointed out, 106-80 in a game Denver had to have last night. And it was over as soon as it got started. Oh, by the way, as Sean pointed out, without Rudy Gobert. To your point, though, Jansen, just as far as Joker is concerned, I don't know. Like, it's a loss, right? And he looked terrible. He finished with 16 points. In this one, he was 5 of 13. He was sluggish. He was turning the ball over. It wasn't a pretty game by no means for anybody, but all eyes are on, of course, Joker here. The previous game to that, he scored 32. So is it as simple as one game, one loss, and all of a sudden we forget the last 4 years that we've been performing sexual acts on this man, that you can't talk about anybody else? Joker's the greatest basketball player. I mean, it was just last week that I'm hearing
That's what I mean. Yeah.
It was just last week that I'm hearing an NBA radio. He passes better than Irvin Magic Johnson. He's a better player than anybody in the game. Like, we can't just change it after one loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves. We can't.
And I gave up fighting this good fight because, you know, he won a championship last year. He's done all the things that he's done. But the fact of the matter in my mind is the Jokic conversation has always been overblown, that he's not prime LeBron James. He's a phenomenal basketball player. Don't get me wrong. But that does not mean he's perfect. And we're seeing that when his flaws are not properly covered up, that he's not capable of carrying his team in the same way. And the Nuggets very well could turn around and still win the series. I'm not declaring them dead here by any means. But I also think it's fair to say that some of this is internal, that the Nuggets don't quite look like the Denver Nuggets that we once saw, that I have never seen their offense stumble and sputter in the way that it has through these first two games. And that's absolutely a testament to the way that the Timberwolves are imposing themselves. But it's also a testament to the Nuggets, like, looking like they don't quite have their fastball, which is a huge surprise to me. And obviously, like, when you win a championship, you can't afford to keep anyone. And they had to make some tough roster decisions. They have guys that they believed were capable of stepping up. The Christian Brauns of the world, the Peyton Watsons of the world. It has not quite translated in the direct, like, linear effect that I think a lot of us expected. And I also think, like, the larger story here is, once again, it's still Anthony Edwards kind of having his rise to stardom in a way that we were still underselling it. Like, he's built for the moment in a way that very few players ever truly are. That I really believe that guy wants it as bad as anyone on the floor. He's got the talent to back it up and competes from start to finish.
I will tell you this much. I just thought he was a little bit all over the place, like kind of aloof at times. I've never doubted his superstar value. Number one overall pick. I was definitely one of those guys that were saying there were a lot of people out there, oh, this draft sucks. No. Anthony Edwards was the best.
Oh, there was definitely a lot of should Anthony Edwards be like number one overall type stuff. It was we weren't sure about this guy. And
Correct.
He's been awesome.
There were a lot of people that said that. I never felt that way. I always looked at him and thought he was dominant. And I said, all right, he's going to Minnesota where careers go to die. He seems like he's all over the place a little bit mentally, kind of juvenile, but he is 22 years old. What do you expect, right? But if he keeps his head on his shoulders, everything you're throwing at him right now, the expectations, this team could I know people are already moving him out of Minnesota. People are already like, we got to get him to New York or LA. It's ridiculous, but he is that good. And he has been the difference maker to the point that maybe not so much last night, definitely in game one. There was moments in game two last night, but it was so lopsided, dude. Like, I can't really put much into last night's game other than the fact that at halftime I gave 13.5 to the Denver Nuggets, the reigning champions. I wanted action. I gave 13.5 points and never sweat one time. It was unbelievable. The only thing I would say about Ant was in game one, that dude can go and get whatever he wanted. Last night, again, I think the score dictated more than anything. I didn't get that vibe last night. Game one, I was like, dude, no one can stop him. I don't know who's going to be able to stop him from here on out. Right? Like, if Porzingis isn't able to go for Boston, good luck. And even if he is able to go, good luck. Like, if Minnesota gives you what they gave in the first two games, they're cutting down the nets. They're getting the rings. They're the champions.
Yeah, they look phenomenal. And I do think like this defensive identity is something that applies. That like again, if you want a model for team defense, it's watch last night's game. That the way that they rotated, the way that they were everywhere, the way that they trapped and had their limbs everywhere, they've embraced this like versatile, positionless wing style players, the Nikhil Alexander Walkers, all these type of guys. Jaden McDaniel's a perfect example. They're the real deal, top to bottom good. And I do think that they're going to continue getting better. And the Edwards conversation, like I think a lot of our doubts here have purely been by the fact that he's 22 years old, that it has nothing truly to do with his basketball ability. It's just
Minnesota too, though.
Yeah, and Minnesota too. And they looked bad last year after the Gobert trade originally. That I also think this is a little bit of a testament to buying into your original belief that the Timberwolves did not look like they were ready to compete. They obviously invested a ton to bring Gobert to that team. And all of a sudden it clicked this year, that we're seeing the way that they have bought in. And the other piece that I did want to bring in here, and it ties right back to this referee conversation, is whatever was going on with Jamal Murray last night, because now they're talking about potential suspension for throwing something on the court. Awesome line for Tim Legler saying, I'm not surprised he missed the ref considering he shot 3 for 18 from the field there on that toss on the floor. But any thoughts on the Jamal Murray situation last night?
Yeah, can't do that. I mean, that probably does deserve a suspension. I'm not going to lie. That probably does.
Ooh.
You can't throw someone on the floor like that, especially because I think Cat stepped on it too. And what if he's
mid-play?
Yeah, what if he's You can't do that. That is Draymond Green-esque. You can't do that.
Can't we just fine him and move on?
I would prefer that to be the case.
Because obviously, if Murray's out, then it's not handing a game to Minnesota, but like you're severely handicapping game 3, and it's like a really important game for Denver. So I get that. You don't want to ruin the integrity of the series, but that's not their fault. Like that's not the NBA's fault. Jamal Murray did that. Jamal Murray was frustrated and did something really dumb. So I mean, you still punish that. Should it be a suspension? I think it should, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not.
Damn.
By the way, Draymond Green chirping in here saying, I hate how everyone's first instinct is for suspension. It's like, maybe you want to sit this one out, Draymond. I don't know if this is quite the realm for you to be being the voice of morality in, but definitely can't do that from Jamal Murray's angle. I also, and my hatred, my playoff narrative bar is in full swing right now. The Denver people running with the narrative, well, Jamal Murray's calf's hurt, so it's kind of a wash. It's like, dude, you got to keep that same energy with everyone. I don't want to hear it when Joel Embiid's playing on this, when other guys are playing through whatever they are. However healthy you are is however healthy you are. So I don't need any calf excuse or a calf injury as an excuse here.
I'm hurt right now. I don't know what's going on. Do you know what this bone is right here?
Oh, and then we can't see it on camera. What's the bone? Where?
It's like right here. It's Sean, you know what I'm talking about. Here's the heel, and then you go up like 2 inches, and it's right behind the
How does that hurt? What did you do? How did you hurt that?
I've been running.
It's just that is that your shoe just hitting the back? Do you not have proper running shoes? Or are they not
sized?
No.
This isn't like a blister. This is a pain to the point that I'm walking on the steps and it feels like my leg gives out. Feels like I'm Dante DiVincenzo getting the pick at the top of the key. Good grief. Hey, real quick on this. Also deserves credit, Chris Finch, head coach. I don't know where this guy came from. I was looking it up. Toronto, he was an assistant. He was with the New Orleans Pelicans as an assistant. He was with the Nuggets before that. So he was with the Pelicans from 17 to 20, 20 to 21 Raptors, and then the T-Wolves. He's been a stud this year. I liked him last year. You're right, though, Sean, because the success wasn't there. So I kind of like, he's going to get fired. It's Minnesota. They're a disaster. But he's been really impressive. And as stupid as it is, him gutting it out, being on the bench, I don't know. Maybe it adds a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And their assistant coach, by the way, is also awesome and a phenomenal quote guy too. That he has some just electric on the mic moments as far as describing plays. So they have a good coaching staff there. And one of the things that like I've heard numerous coaches talk about with Chris Finch is like how letter of the law organized he is. That he's got like color coded notes broken down in all these different ways and types of things, which is a pretty rare characteristic for an NBA head coach, I would say. So kind of interesting there. Respect to him for being the mad scientist behind all this. He did kind of, I just have a ton of praise for the way that you do stick it out. That they very much bought into this identity of this is the way they're going to play without seeing success last year, continue to stick with it. And we're seeing this kind of flourish this year. So a ton of credit to him for sure.
All right. Are the Minnesota Timberwolves moving on right now to win the West? The Minnesota Timberwolves are even money. OKC is 3-1. Mavericks are plus 350. We're going to talk about them here in a second, of course, with OKC as well. And the Denver Nuggets plus 650. Are the T-Wolves as good as, in your mind, they're representing the West here? Where are we at? John Jansen first?
I would think so. So they just look more athletic than everybody else, by the way. I mean, what other thing they did is they just got athletes. Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, all very good, lengthy athletes. And it's giving Denver a lot of problems. I feel like it's going to give a lot of teams problems, especially as you just said, Sean, there's an effort on team defense. And so if you have length, athleticism, and also the want to do that defensively, yeah, it's going to be tough. But also offensively, if you have not just Anthony Edwards, but Cat is also shooting extremely efficiently from the floor. So as long as he's involved and he's playing this way, I think that's what we've been challenging Karl Anthony Towns to do. So we're just kind of seeing these two really young players. I know Cat's a little bit older than Anthony Edwards, but still young. And these young players finally hitting their stride at the right time. I do think they're the best team in the West. I don't even think OKC has this kind of firepower, and I think they're going to struggle against Dallas. And Dallas, to me, I think they have a really game Kyrie Irving, and he's been awesome for them. Luka's, of course, one of the best scorers in the league, but they don't have the overall, again, athleticism, depth, the amount of ability that I think Minnesota has. And it is telling, because I thought Denver's starting five was really good, and it is telling how much better Minnesota's looks.
Mm-hmm. Naz Reid, too, playing really well.
Yeah, Naz Reid playing awesome. Yep.
Yeah, sixth man of the year there.
Sean, where are you at in the West?
I would say I think it's Minnesota's to lose at this point. I mean, the proof is in the pudding as far as what they're putting out there right now. I could not be more impressed with. So I think the fact that they just took two in Denver is a big deal. I think that they do clean up this series. I don't think they sweep. I'm sure the Nuggets probably squeeze one out and extend a little bit, but I don't think that they ultimately come back from this. So I do think Minnesota wins the series, and I do think that they have the advantage over either of the other two teams. That I could very much see them imposing themselves against this Thunder team, the youthful Thunder team with Chet Holmgren and all those factors there. I also think like the length and athleticism and defensive ability we're talking about is a pretty good solution to the Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving problem out there in Dallas. So it feels like the roster construction from Minnesota's standpoint was really built to go through the West in a way that I don't think many teams have taken that path, as far as, buying into the defensive identity, having these true big men, this size, this athleticism, all in a way that I don't think any of these other teams have quite embraced. So we're seeing it flourish, and I think that's where, if you pin me down right now, that's where I'm going for sure.
Opened up at 3.5, now up to 4.5. Game 3 in Minnesota on Friday. Nice little breather there for both teams, but I think it's probably going to be a little bit more important for Denver. But it opened at 3.5, Minnesota, now up to 4.5. Nobody is believing in the Denver Nuggets. Nobody. I will tell you, though, and Sean, you kind of made mention of it, like they're not dead. Like, this series is not over. Hold up. I get it. It looks like it is. But we're talking about the Denver Nuggets. They got the best player out there with Joker. We'll see. I mean, maybe Ant Edwards is the better player. He has been so far. But what I bring that up is because now there's the value, the V word that we often look for is on the Denver Nuggets, plus 650 to win the West in this one. And I'm trying to get the dang series price here.
I guess you could call it value because you're obviously getting them at a much higher price than you did previously, and it's only 2 games, so you shouldn't.
What else are you going to call it?
Well, to me, I don't know if it's value because I think Denver's this is what they've been throughout 2 postseason series now. They were like this all the way throughout the Lakers, and they're just lucky that the Lakers aren't really as good as Minnesota, and now they're struggling against Minnesota, and Minnesota's taking full advantage of it. So I don't think we've seen Denver play all that well through 2 postseason series. So I think fair. You just maybe you wait for a couple of games, and if Denver is back in it, you're still probably going to get a decent price with Denver. So wait for that. I just don't think it's worth it because right now I just don't think they're a good basketball team. Or good
for the series price. It's 4-1 Denver to win this series, down 0-2. Timberwolves are up now 2-0 minus 525. Yeah, look, we talked a lot about Minnesota and this series specifically, and the winner will be in the NBA Finals. And there was an opportunity for me to put my money where my mouth was on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Did not do it. just because it's the big bad Nuggets. And here we are, 0-2 in the hole. What really hits me, though, is when you think about the fact that Dallas had Luka and Jalen Brunson on the same damn team. Could you imagine if that team was still put together right now? Anyways, bringing up the Dallas Mavericks. They are playing tonight, game 1. We'll start with that one. That's at 9:35. That's the second tip this evening. Dallas on the road in OKC. 3.5 is your number here. 218. It's a tough game 1. My gut reaction, my gut vibe is OKC. But Dallas really proved something to me with the way they handled the Clippers. So I don't know if I want to dance with any team right now. I'm going to stand in the corner and just enjoy this game, watch from afar. But if you made me pick a team right here, game 1, OKC. I don't think I don't have a vibe either way on who's going to advance here. I could see OKC being a little bit too young, Dallas playing really good, especially feeling great after what they did. Even though OKC looked good against New Orleans, let's be real about that. But game 1, I like OKC. For the series, dude, I mean it. Flip a damn coin. Sean Barnard, where you at?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an awesome series, one that goes pretty deep. For tonight specifically, I do like OKC, and I do like the -3.5, is I believe what the latest I've seen the number is. Yeah, -3.5. I think the Thunder are taking this very seriously. I think that they're very much locked in and understand what the moment means, especially going down 0-1 at home. I think it's going to be a war throughout the series, but I think the Thunder very much are going to come out with a focused effort, jump on top, and get one tonight. So I do like the Thunder to cover the -3.5. I think they get the win, and I think there's a chance that they go up 2-0 as far as the first 2 home games before we get the Mavericks start punching back. And we've seen the Mavericks be capable of do that in years past.
John Jansen?
Yeah, I'll stick with that. I'll stick with OKC at home. I'll just stick with the home team here. And I think OKC, maybe, I don't know if we can look at them the same way Minnesota, but it's just OKC hasn't done it yet. So we're still kind of skeptical of what is this team really? What are they going to be in a playoff series like this when they have to go up against 2 stars like Luka and Kyrie Irving? But I feel like they can prove themselves here. I haven't loved, and I think Dallas has been actually pretty good this season. I haven't loved everything I've seen from Dallas in the postseason, but I think OKC, though, that team's loaded, and Dallas is going to give them a series. I just think game 1, OKC is going to come out firing. I think they'll be good.
Should be a great game, great series, and for the most part, we hope we're going to get some good series in all of them. But I'm not so sure we're going to get one in this Boston-Cleveland series. Let's get on over to that one. 12.5 here, big time number. Could I see it play out like it did with Miami? Sure. Maybe Cleveland goes in there and gets like game 2. I don't know. I want to give Cleveland some sort of credit here with the 12.5. Again, 12.5 is a lot of points. So if you made me wager on it, I might hold my breath and take the 12.5 here. But Boston's not losing this series. They're going to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I get it. The sports gambling show, so we're picking winners here. We want to find some winning bets, but putting that to the side, Boston 4-1 in this series, Eastern Conference Finals. Bring on the Knicks. I'd love to see that matchup. Sean Barnard, start with you here. Game 1, where you at? 12.5.
Yeah, I lean towards the -12.5 in favor of the Celtics, that I could very much see this becoming a blowout. I don't think that the Cavs get swept in this series, so I would say hover over that money line for at least one game, that they can steal one and get the job done, but I don't think that's going to be tonight. I do like a couple player props. That Donovan Mitchell at 27.5 points feels way too low to me, that he's been terrific this postseason, that in this conversation for the best playoff players, Donovan Mitchell deserves to be right in the mix for that, and I understand he's not going to get the respect because, myself included, nobody really believes this Cavs team to be capable of getting past this round, but he's been nothing short of great so far these playoffs, and it's clear that this moment means a ton from him, and it should, based on that he's basically playing for whatever his future team may be, because I don't believe it is going to be in Cleveland, and Cleveland has a lot at stake based on this being essentially their all-in push and hoping that it does work out here. So a lot on the line for them. I do like Mitchell. I also say that I forgot to mention it in the Thunder conversation, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 28.5 also feels really low to me. He's averaged over 30 throughout the regular season. He's a guy that I do think is going to take this matchup personally and look to go toe-to-toe a little bit with Luka.
One thing that we do know about this Cleveland team is they are not good on the road. They lost 2 or 3 games in Orlando by 20-plus points. JB Bickerstaff is 0-5 on the road in the playoffs with the Cavs and 0-8 in the playoffs on the road as a head coach in his career. Do with what you want with that. But this is a really good Boston team. I just think 12.5 is way too many for a playoff game. But again, it won't shock me if Boston rolls and wins this by 25. I think Jaylen Brown can lock up Spider Mitchell pretty good. And I think that you're going to see Drew Holiday do some work on Darius Garland. So I think the defensive matchups are there for the Boston Celtics as far as advantage for them. But it is playoff basketball, and Spider Mitchell did go for 50 in a game. He's clearly going to put it on his back. 27.5. Sean, you sold me on that. You know, the Stars have been performing, so I do like that play there. John Jansen, anything for you, 12.5 game one?
Yeah, Boston's going to be suffocating. They're going to be suffocating defensively, and I know Donovan Mitchell has been playing really well, but they're going up against a ton of really good guards in Boston. That team's loaded on the perimeter, and I don't think Cleveland's going to be able to stop that. It's probably going to be a barrage of threes. Boston's been excellent from 3 all season long. They're probably going to do the same. They could score from anyone, anywhere. I just think it's too much. You know, Cleveland wasn't impressed at all. Orlando is a team we know is trying to get better, and it's a team that has certainly improved, and Paolo Banchero has been good. But, man, this is like a completely different beast, and they're going to have to come up against a team that I think is so much better than them guard play. And, again, that's saying somebody – I love Donovan Mitchell as well, and I think Donovan Mitchell's playing well. But he is going to get pretty much every single look you can throw at him, and I don't know how he's going to handle all that. And he'll have to take all of that pressure as well, because it's still a fairly young Cleveland team that I don't know if it was playing all that well in the regular season, and it's a team that could probably blow up after the season. So there's some odd vibes there at times. I just think this Boston team is just head and shoulders better than them. They're going to be suffocating all series long.
Yeah, what they did to Miami is essentially what I expect against Cleveland.
Yeah,
so,
I do too. Yeah.
You know, I think whoever wins in that Pacers-Knicks game will give them a little bit more of a run. I still think Boston's going to advance and get to the NBA Finals, and it could very well be their year this year. I don't know. But we got a little ways to go, as I said a few times already. A lot of ball left to be played. So looking forward to that. All right. We got a lot of other things we got to hit here. Of course, Daryl Morey spoke yesterday. I want to get Sean Barnard's take on that. Want to talk about the Phillies. John Jansen team is red hot. Got the Toronto Blue Jays coming in after taking 4 against the San Francisco Giants. Loving the vibes. So we got a lot to discuss. But quickly on this final play, one winner for today out of the 2 games. Sean Barnard, you can go first.
I'm going to go with the over of 27.5 for Donovan Mitchell. That I do think that he's going to go down shooting if they do go down in this game. I mean, he scored 50 points in Game 6 against the Magic. I get that the Celtics are not the Magic, but the Magic threw a ton of looks at them and are a pretty good team defensively as far as the way that they are constructed, the way that they are built. I think Mitchell is going to put up at least 30 tonight and be that alpha dog that this team needs. So I'll go down swinging with Donovan Mitchell.
John Jansen, one play.
I'm going to go Boston. I'll lay the points with Boston. I really do think that's a terrible matchup for Cleveland, and especially with Boston at home, I think Boston's going to put up probably a 20-plus point deficit here, or 20-plus point game here for the Celtics.
I like the over in OKC and Dallas at 218. I just think we're going to see like some ridiculous game. Not a lot of defense tonight, game 1. I'm trying to decipher between that or the Thunder at 3.5. I'll probably go Thunder. Give me the Thunder at home. Open up the series game 1. There's just too many people sleeping on OKC. Dallas seems like they're really good. So, yeah, give me OKC. I can't make too much of a case about it because Dallas could easily go in there and win this game. But I do believe in the home court. I do believe in like the ebbs and flows of 7-game series. I like OKC to handle and hold it down at home court. I also like a lot of points. Like I said, I just think there's not going to be a lot of defense game 1. This coming off of like a 127-14 final score. I mean that 127-114 sails over the total. All right, we'll keep it going on that one. And once again, Sean Barnard, Sean_Barnard1 with us here. And you got John Jansen. I am Sean Breaks. All right. Daryl Morey spoke yesterday, Sean Barnard. I know you were able to get home and take a crack at it. A couple things that stood out to me in that press conference. One, I'm curious to know your thoughts on Tobias Harris because he cannot return. He would be public enemy number 1. The other deal was, of course, they need a wing player. Great. I really hope it's not Jimmy Butler. I think that ship has sailed. I love Jimmy, but I'm not like, I think that ship sailed. That's pretty much easy there. And number 3 was I did enjoy Daryl Morey saying, like, dude, this is on me. Like he stepped up. I thought, I'm not going to go too crazy and congratulate him. At the end of the day, he gave himself a contract extension just last year. But I did like the fact that he said, it's Nick, Tyrese, and Joel. Of course, they're putting it together. They're handling their business. It's on me now to hold up my end of the bargain. Paraphrasing there. Those were some of the highlights for me. Anything for you, though, yesterday during the Sixers press conference?
Yeah, and for starters, to that point is I do have a great deal of respect for Daryl Morey for being as forward-facing as he is. That he is one of the more just media-friendly and visible general managers in all of sports, to be perfectly honest. So I do respect that about him. He definitely doesn't turn down to answering questions in a realer way than a lot of GMs and presidents of basketball operations do. The Tobias Harris line was funny to me, that his exact quote saying that Tobias Harris absolutely can play a role in a championship contender. My honest read for that is, well, for starters, I just wholeheartedly disagree with it. But my honest read on the situation is it is Daryl Morey just kind of trying to do right by the guy. And he is a dude who spent 6 years here before he sends him off into free agency. Say something nice about him and let other teams hear it is kind of how I took that. I do think my biggest takeaway is that the Sixers are for sure going big C fishing here, that they want to get this big fish, this third star as a part of it. And we know that's Daryl Morey's nature, but I think
wait. You said big sea fishing. That's new. That's new. It's normally star hunting, right? We're normally star hunting. Now we're in the Pacific and we're big sea fishing. All right. I love it.
Reel them in.
This is good. Yeah. What are we going to reel in out there? That's the question.
Yeah, and that is the concern. Like, to your point about Jimmy Butler, I think that's a fair outlook to take. I personally have concerns that Paul George's ship is even more sailed than Jimmy Butler, and I've been messaging back with a couple Clippers people trying to get a vibe check on that. My question that's essentially being phrased is, which player do you believe is a bigger loser, James Harden or Paul George? And the fact that you're getting mixed responses there is very concerning to me. So yeah, the options for what those fish aren't the best right now, as much as the Sixers are well suited. There's a couple other smaller names starting to leak in, the Brandon Ingram being talked about, a couple other guys beginning to show up. So will be interesting to see what is ultimately done there. There's going to be a lot of changes this offseason. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I do think it was interesting that he did mention Paul Reed by name when talking about the young core. Particularly because his contract is non-guaranteed and the Sixers could move on for nothing. Obviously, I guess like that's something that people would have been zeroed in on regardless. So if he didn't say anything, that might have been a bigger deal. But overall, I thought it was a solid press conference. It made me feel better about the outlook by Daryl Morey, and now the work's for him to put in and find a way to get the job done here.
The proper saying, and not to come at you, but you know how the comment section will work. It's deep sea fishing, and I once went deep sea fishing. I caught a 48-inch wahoo. Yeah, 48-inch wahoo off the coast of North Carolina, John Jansen. The coolest thing about that fish that I caught, first of all, reeled it in. It was, nothing too crazy, but that bad boy, I used to have a picture. I had hair and everything, this picture, in shape, probably like half the size I am right now, holding it up. And when I caught that fish, we brought it back. And it was like some work trip that we were on, and somebody bought that fish off me at the pier there, or wherever we were. Like, yo, what are you gonna do with that fish? I'm like, I'm visiting, bro. Not a damn thing. Could I buy it off you? I think I sold them for $25. I'm like, man, that was cool.
25
right.
bucks.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, whatever. But that was a big damn fish. A lot of fun out there in the deep sea. Don't know if we could find a wing player that's gonna help him move in the right direction, but this whole Jimmy Butler, and we're going to talk about Pat Riley in a second, but this whole Jimmy Butler conversation,
no,
I'm not
doing that again. No,
yeah.
I'm not doing that again.
Your thoughts on Daryl Morey, John?
I don't know. I wasn't encouraged after it. It just seems like the same old thing. We're just in line to get another 30-something, mid-30s star player that Daryl Morey's going to throw a ton of money at and say, well, look, we got the big three. Let's do it. None of that's working. I just don't feel like there is. I don't think Daryl Morey has any other like part of his repertoire available. It's just, let's just get the biggest star available, and that's it. We can't get role players. We can't build the team properly. I just don't think he knows how to do that. I don't know. It's just the same. It's the same old thing to me. They're just trying the same thing. It's just plug in a different player. Plug in James Harden, plug in Jimmy Butler, plug in Paul George. It's the same player over and over and over again.
You know, the one thing that did hit me though last night watching, of course, was seeing, and Sean, I brought this up with you yesterday, where seeing the other players on the floor help out their stars, right?
Yeah.
Like an actual team step up. TJ McConnell out there, right? Like, and he is in a different stratosphere on his own right now because he played here, little white guy, right? So it's like he's got a lot of, and he's balling. He's playing great basketball, and he always has. So I'm not going to sit here and say, like, I hope Daryl Morey's watching and seeing something like that, but you got to do better by your players, and you got to go find them. That's your damn job. And for, like Melton, I get it. He's a good player, but he was hurt. That wasn't a winning play right there by Daryl Morey. And going down the list, Paul Reed. I don't know. Paul Reed, I thought was going to be better. He wasn't anything as far as playoff time. That's not a good job by Daryl Morey. So I don't know. Hopefully he's watching these playoffs, maybe getting a little bit, something out of nowhere, because I don't think it's as cut and dry these days where it's like, hey, man, get the 5 best players out there, talent above all, and let's roll the ball and check rock, as Sean Barnard often says. Let's put a damn team together. Let's get serious about putting a damn team together. And you look around the league and you see some of these teams and some of these guys are just making some plays like Denver. The reason why Denver won the championship last year is everybody did well. I get it. Joker was incredible, but they weren't winning that championship without Aaron Gordon. They weren't winning that championship without Jamal Murray. We can go on and on. Porter Jr. hit some big shots, right? That's one of the reasons why I don't think the Nugs are dead yet, because they have a really good team. But I don't know. Last call on that one, though, Sean Barnard, your thoughts?
Yeah, my number one takeaway, or I guess my mindset for what I'm hoping Daryl Morey sees, is figure out the identity of this team and build off it. That all these teams we're talking about still in this playoff run, they know so well, so clearly the way they're going to play. That a team like the Timberwolves, they're going to be all over the place defensively. A team like the Pacers, that they're going to run and gun, they're going to play at a faster pace than you. A team like the Knicks, that they're going to out-grit you, out-hustle you, commit to rebounding. It still feels like the Sixers aren't really certain what their identity is. Too often it's Joel Embiid or Tyrese Maxey, go bail us out. Figure out the way you want to play, the style of basketball that you want to play, and then find players to fit that build, to find a way to model around your stars, to complement them, and just commit to that completely. Because we've seen a lot of different eras. There are different styles attempted with the Sixers team. Obviously drastically different when you have a Ben Simmons or have a James Harden. But you have to figure out what is the ideal way to optimize your 2 stars right now in Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, and then figure out a way that you want to play beyond that, because I don't think they've fully committed to an identity as an organization in several years.
All right, let's go ahead and jab at this, and we'll close up shop with some Phil's baseball conversation. Sean Barnard, I'll start with you. Pat Riley. Man's accomplished a lot in this game, and he does not mess around. Of course, we know what took place yesterday. We talked about it on yesterday's show. The highlights, or the audio was everywhere. Jimmy Butler saying, the Boston Celtics, if I played, they weren't winning. New York Knicks, get out of here. If I was playing, they're not winning. Jimmy Butler, or Pat Riley, takes the podium and says, yeah, you should keep your mouth shut. He also called Tyler Hero fragile. I'm curious, if Pat Riley was given the autopsy on the 76ers, what is he saying about Joel Embiid?
That's a good question there. That's not where I thought you were going with this. I guess I would say, I do think he would put it bluntly in the same way here. I think the main critique here, what he's carrying for both Hero and Butler, is the lack of availability, that he's saying that they're not going to be on the floor. Another quote that he had about Hero is he said, maybe one of these days he'll surprise everyone and play all 82. And I can't imagine, if I'm Tyler Hero or Jimmy Butler, that I love hearing this stuff. To be honest, I think it's kind of a bad organizational look for you to be critiquing your own players in that regard or that tone. And I get they're all quotes we read, not listened to. So maybe it comes off slightly differently in the way these quoting it or saying it. But I do think that with Joel specifically, the same critiques apply, that it is an availability thing. And for Pat Riley specifically, as it comes to the Jimmy Butler conversation, that the Heat have been quite open with Butler about part of our hesitation for giving you an extension is you haven't quite backed up your end of the bargain for being there on every game basis. Yes, you show up in playoffs. Yes, you do these things, but every game matters, and the Heat have not treated it as such, largely because of Butler and Hero, their lack of availability. So I do think it's fair game. I do think it's surprising that he said it. I don't love it from an organizational look, and I definitely think you can say the exact same thing about Joel if that's his critique.
Pat Riley, what does he say about the Sixers, John Jansen?
That they're losers. Pat Riley doesn't like losers. Pat Riley. There's one thing that dude doesn't like. He doesn't like a bunch of losers. And that's why, I mean, he'll call out Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler was talking all this nonsense of like, oh, the series would have been different. I was there. Then be there. Tyler Hero hasn't been available. So, yeah, Pat Riley's blunt, but it works for him. And I know we talk about Heat culture, and I think sometimes it does get a little bit overblown, especially because, the Heat haven't always won everything. So to me, it is a bit overblown, but yeah, that's what Pat Riley is. And Pat Riley does like winners, and he's brought on a bunch of winners before. And I don't think you would like the things Joel says at the end of games as well. Because Joel is going, oh, well, we're going to win this series. Well, why didn't you win it? Don't say that if you're not going to win it. So I think he'd be the same way. I do.
Wish we had Pat Riley with this team a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice. I don't know.
He's a winner. He's won everywhere he's been.
I'd take anything except for what the Sixers actually got. The Colangelos and whatever happened.
Oh,
yeah. I'd take Pat Riley over that for sure. Yeah.
We want these guys to be honest, and I love it. And I don't think Pat Riley was wrong. And there's one way of running an organization, and then there's that way, right? Like for me, I'm kind of in the same ballpark where I'm not going to throw anybody underneath the bus. And Pat Riley clearly has had enough. Now, Pat Riley, how old is Pat Riley? Pat Riley's
he's in his 80s. Yeah. He's in his 80s.
I do think that
he's 79. Yeah,
79.
you could tell. Okay. You could tell that he's kind of he's, in my opinion, it looks like he's on his way out. Like, I'm done with this. This is just too much. The 65 game rule, he had something to say about that. Just means you can miss 17. Love that, whatever. And then everything else right now. I think the vibe I got yesterday watching that press conference was that he's pretty much done. Sean, you were going to say something?
Yeah, and I also, as much as he shot down the idea of trading Jimmy Butler or moving on to those types of things, I do think those quotes meant that the Butler experience is starting to wear out its welcome in another location. That we know that there's a shelf life with that guy. We've seen it in Minnesota, in Chicago, in Philadelphia. And as much as Miami's better equipped than all those places to handle a guy of his magnitude or of his personality, I do think that the welcome might be wearing out a little bit there. So I think that is worth noting as it pertains to this conversation for both the Sixers and the Heat.
Yeah, the shelf life is definitely I think it's run.
It's run its course. And
the milk is expired.
Right, but I don't even think is it worth it at this point to even deal with Jimmy Butler just because of all the injuries and he isn't playing a lot. So yeah, I think the Heat are kind of seeing maybe this isn't all worth it right now.
So he's under contract for another year. He's not going anywhere unless he says I want out, I believe. But again, from the Sixers perspective, I think we're all Sean, where are you at on Jimmy Butler? Are you thumbs up?
I wouldn't say up or down. I'm more open to it than I think your guys' tone is. I mean, what's relevant to me is he is a playoff riser. He is a guy who fits like stylistically what they need from an actual true wing. He's not a perfect basketball player. It frustrates me the way he doesn't shoot threes. And
can I say something?
Yeah, what's that?
What happened when he played with the Sixers? Where did he rise that series?
He didn't play great. He didn't play great for sure. And that's kind of
our team.
Well, and it is. It's a curse. It's definitely a curse.
The revisionist history of the Jimmy Butler stuff is the Jimmy Butler we know today is quite different from the Jimmy Butler that was here in Philadelphia. That, like, if you flash back to that point in time, he had just forced his way out of Chicago. He had forced his way out of Minnesota, had half a season in Philly where he was already having issues with Ben Simmons, with Brett Brown, that it was like, okay, there's quite a few red flags here. Maybe it is best to let this guy find his way to South Beach in a sign and trade where we bring back Josh Richardson, who's at least not going to kill this team. And I mean, obviously that did not work out when looking at how things went. But I still think people are harder on the Jimmy Butler decision to let him go than I think should be the case based on what we thought we knew then.
All right. Well, we got a long way to go. So I'm not thumbs down, but I'm definitely not thumbs up.
No way we're running that back again. Please, for the love of God, do not run that back again. Do something else. Do something else. I
need to see what something else is.
Better. I'm more open to Brandon Ingram than I am Jimmy Butler.
Oof. Brandon Ingram.
I'm way more open to Brandon Ingram.
He played bad down the stretch.
That's fine.
He's tatted up Tobias Harris, is what Brandon Ingram is. Like, like
At least he's younger, so it's like a younger tatted up Tobias Harris. Yeah, I mean, you're right there. It's the same kind of player. He does the same kind of things as Tobias
When
does.
Zion got hurt, they needed him more than anything, and he stepped up. And to be fair, so does CJ McCollum. He was bad too as well. But I don't know. It is funny how it works though, because now there's a chance Brandon Ingram does end up wearing the Sixers uniform. Of course, Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram. We had that conversation and that leading up to the NBA draft. Oh, speaking of Ben Simmons, nice, great job.
Yeah. My man loves showing up anywhere, everywhere, except for a basketball arena, baby.
Tremendous.
Anywhere. He could
in
the Met Gala, a basketball game. I don't know about that. I don't know.
Dude, he's living, man. He is LIVIN, living. And yeah, he really does not care what's being said.
How does he knows? How does he belong there? He's got to be the lowest celebrity status at the Met Gala.
I don't even know what
is he a notable basketball player anymore?
Can I say?
I think always
bigger than Rob. Is he bigger than Rob McElhenney?
No, Rob McElhenney's bigger than. Oh yeah, especially because the Wrexham thing and It's Always Sunny in Philly is a popular sitcom. Absolutely.
Okay, I saw him on the red carpet. I was like, all right. That wasn't a shot at him. It was just Ben Simmons.
I don't know. It sounded like a shot at him. It sounded like a shot at him.
No, he's a big dude. I get it. Always.
He's tall. I mean, the most notable thing he's done in pop culture is date Kendall Jenner.
Yeah.
He was a number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, and he did nothing. Not every number 1 overall pick is going to be at the Met Gala. How did Ben Simmons
plays for Brooklyn?
Status? Nobody knows he plays for Brooklyn because he's not on the floor. He's not even at the arena. So I just, what is notable? What is the celebrity status here? What is notable about this person?
Hung out with Drake a couple times.
Exactly.
Like,
that's it. That's it. He dated a Jenner and then he hung out. Right. He hung out with Drake or something. That's 100% it. That's all he's done.
I do have a great stat on it for you guys, though, here, that the length of time that the Met Gala red carpet was last night was 210 minutes. The amount of time that Ben Simmons spent on an NBA floor this season, 165 minutes. So he did quite literally spend more time at the Met Gala last night than he spent playing basketball all season this year.
I don't want to talk about minutes spent because I spent about way too many minutes watching movies last night. So I don't know if I can be. I don't know if I can be the one to talk about what we do with our time.
Is that all the Met Gala is? Just a red carpet? Do they not do anything inside?
That's like it's just celebrities just dressing up weird.
Okay. All right. Let's get on over to baseball.
As long as they make good movies, I'm okay with whatever they do.
That's fair. Let's close up shop here, Jansen. We'll start with you. Get your thoughts on all things Phillies. They got Sanchez on the mound, Berrios on the mound for the Blue Jays. Blue Jays have lost 4 straight series. This is a team that is leaking oil in a bad way, especially on the offensive side. They need Vlad Guerrero Jr. to get it going. Bichette's been terrible this season, so on and so forth. Tonight, -118 Sanchez on the mound. Phillies are red hot. They're vibing. They're clicking on all cylinders. The only thing they're dealing with right now is Trey Turner and that issue for the next 6 weeks. But like you're getting the vibe right now that this is a team that has it. And when you are one of those teams, you're able to weave through and manage difficult spots where your big time player goes down for a bit of a stretch or something happens, a pitcher goes down. So I have no fear that the Phillies are going to be all right with Trey Turner, but it would be better if he was playing. Anyways, tonight I like him. I think the Phillies win. Yeah.
I do like him as well. I will say this. It is amazing to watch a player like Bryce Harper after watching Embiid. And look, Embiid did well, but he's always come up short. It just doesn't feel like he rises in the moments. Trey Turner goes down, and it's like 6 weeks he's out. And everybody went, really, well, Bryce Harper, you got to get it together. Because he hasn't been playing well enough. What does Bryce Harper do in the 3 games that Trey Turner's been out? He's been lights out. He's already hit 2 home runs. Both of them have been 3-run home runs. He's basically won them these games. I mean, you just see that guy step up in big moments or whenever he's needed over and over and over and over again. That's special. Like, it's a really special athlete the Phillies do have. And it's a really special athlete that Philadelphia has that I want to appreciate and appreciate while he's here and while he's doing those things over and over and over and over again. To me, he's the best athlete in Philadelphia. He is by far the best athlete in
You
Philly.
could have so easily worked in that compliment without a shot at Joel Embiid, man.
I know, I'm just saying it's more emphasis on it because I feel like we get disappointed by Embiid, and here's a superstar with the Phillies that is just every single time they need him, he steps up. So yeah, Trey Turner goes down, but I have faith in them tonight, and I have faith in them moving forward with without Trey Turner for the next 6 weeks because they have Bryce Harper playing at this extremely high level all of a sudden. The thing about tonight though is going to be interesting is Christopher Sanchez and Turnbull are both going to pitch tonight, so Sanchez gets the start, and Rob Thompson said that it's going to be about 3 innings for Spencer Turnbull. I wonder how that's going to go. I know that's kind of what they did with Matt Strahm when they put him in the bullpen last year. The thing is, you just don't know how that's all going to play out because these guys are going to be pitching in different circumstances now. I imagine it's a good thing for Sanchez because he can just pitch 3 or 4 innings and he'll be good to go for the rest of the game. And then you could put in Turnbull, and I think he should be fine for 3 innings out of the bullpen. It'll just be interesting to see how that dynamic does work and if that's something they can continue to do moving forward, because I think it would help both pitchers, especially with their pitch counts as the season goes along. So I think they'll be fine there. And you're right, the Blue Jays have just been terrible, but I trust this Phillies lineup. This has been a top 5, top 3 lineup in all of baseball so far this season. I trust that more than anything.
Anything you want to get off your chest as far as the Joel Embiid slander, Sean Barnard, and a take on the Phillies because they've been extremely impressive.
Yeah, that's all right. It's not the time. It's got to take the blows that they're sitting at home right now. I got to wear that. But as far as the Phillies conversation, I will say the pitching stuff, I would have preferred to keep Turnbull in the rotation and go to the 6-man rotation. I know that Nola and Wheeler didn't seem to be fans of that. They didn't like pitching with extra rest, and I get it's probably more important to keep your main arms and some of the bigger starters on the team happy there.
Routine. I mean, those guys who are very routine, starting pitchers especially. So I get why they don't like it, but I'm kind of with you in a way of like, because I'd rather have you for the postseason healthy than
exactly. I would prefer to save the arms and just postpone it till that. Obviously, that there's no doubt about how good these guys are, how important they are to this Phillies team. But I think that the view should still be in October at this point, is what this team's goal should be. So I personally, especially as well as Turnbull was pitching, that I would not have taken him out of that rotation there. But interesting nonetheless. And my final point there, by the way, Alec Boehm disappointed in the hit streak to die down last night, but that man has been unbelievable. And I truly feel like this is like a turn the page moment for him, not just a hot streak, that it feels like the game he's reached the point where he's taking that next step at a player, which I think a lot of us were waiting on for Alec Boehm specifically.
He's comfortable in the dish, and you know what? He's really good at third as well. Like, he makes all the plays. He doesn't make bad decisions. He's a very heady player. I've been impressed with Alec Boehm. I was hopeful that he was going to take another step up because you need that production from third base, but I wasn't so sure.
This is a wild step up.
No, it's next level. He heading into Sunday night baseball, he was leading the league in average at 365. I don't know where he's at right now, but it's absurd. It really is. Now they're playing really great baseball, and it's a lot of fun. And this is the hottest start in quite some time, month of April all the way into May here. Hopefully they continue tonight. Fellas, can't thank you enough for tonight or today. Great job as always. I'll be back solo again tomorrow. Julian Edlow. Thursday, Stevie Bukes. Maybe I can get Jansen in with me on Thursday. Sean Barnard's going to be featured all throughout the course of the week. Picking winners. Once again, tonight, I like OKC. Sean Barnard likes over Spider Mitchell, 27.5. John Jansen, you like?
Boston Celtics. Lay the points with the Celtics. I'll take the.
All right. Well, good luck, everybody. Boys, thank you very much. Everybody, make sure you follow us on socials at Fox PHL Gamble. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.